You are now listening to Nerd Hour. Amateur Hour. Please, allow me to show you something. Let's get to work.
Get down on the ground! This is a raid! Clever.
I would make my joke, but I think it's a little racy.
Go ahead. It's not like we can have anything to lose.
And I was going to say, you have to sound a little more authoritative and a little more white.
I'm neither of those things, except for one of those things.
That's very unfortunate for you.
Can you guess which one I am?
That is unfortunate for you.
Can you guess which one of the things I am? Am I authoritative or white? Can you guess?
It's like Dora the Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
Any other news?
The joke that SNL made, the Jewish version. Menorah the Explorer.
Dear God.
I know. Thank you, SNL, for that really insensitive joke. Anyway, what is the show? Film Nerds Hour. That's right. That's what we do.
I'm glad you remembered it.
Yeah. It's only been like a year. Don't set too much of a precedent for me knowing things.
Right. And we did have some personal things come up, which is why these videos are just getting to you now.
So I was out of town for 2 weeks, which wasn't a problem because we had pre-recorded for it. But then someone in my household caught the variant, so we had to isolate for safety concerns. And then, you had moving issues too, and just...
It became a very overwhelmingness.
Yeah. But hey, plus side for you people, massive drop, huh?
Yeah, which would be nice. You guys get to have all the episodes that we wish we would have been able to get scheduled. But hey, that's more quality content for you, and then maybe I'll be happy. And then hopefully, because I know everybody on the YouTube is going to be happy that listens on there, because there will be a massive drop for content on there since we haven't had the time, which will change hopefully in a short amount of time here.
We're going to be getting some... We also might have some exciting changes. So keep a lookout for that. Things might... We might,
There's a song called Going Through Changes. We won't sing it because we don't want Netflix to be mad at us.
Nope.
And they will be even more mad at us because they aren't even a show.
Exactly. But in any case...
Welcome back to Film Nerds Hour, everybody. We're happy to be back. And,
how have you been?
I've been pretty good for the most part.
You've been watching the Olympics? What was that?
I am not an Olympics person, believe it or not.
I enjoyed a lot of it, mostly because there was a lot of anime references.
That is what I basically watched the sum up in a shell.
Sailor Moon, yay!
Yeah.
So,
but it did give a lot of time to watch a lot of films. I also got the Saints Row the Third remastered edition, which is an actual remaster of the game, so that was fun.
Yeah, how is that?
It's amazing.
Awesome.
It's pure HD. It's amazing. Like they didn't just remaster, like they remastered. It's essentially
sorry. Go on.
It's essentially what Hangar 13 should have done with Mafia. When they remastered everything instead of whatever that was for Mafia 2.
Yeah, of course. That's great though. I'm very happy you enjoyed your time. I watched a lot of anime and played a lot of video games. So basically the same.
Well, in any other news, that's kind of what we've been up to. So
yeah,
we're going to
hope you've all been well. We're going to talk about the raid.
Yeah, which you guys can find on my Voodoo. You can find the raid on there.
You're going to give them all your Voodoo code?
Well, yeah, that was going to be the joke, is you can find it on my Voodoo, but first you have to find the password.
Oh, okay, so I ruined your joke?
A little bit.
Sorry.
Almost. Or did you? I do love how this movie, though, does stand at 87% for both critics and fans.
Yeah, of course.
It's quite funny, because you never really see it balanced out. Now, what I also love is that people have balanced the Revenge of the Sith on Rotten Tomatoes to be 66 and audience reviews, and I'm pretty sure that's on purpose.
Execute the order, yeah. Don't read this out loud. I just want to hear your thoughts.
That would be something to send to me.
You approve? Okay, I will.
So, The Raid, which is an Indonesian film by Gareth Evans, who...
Yeah.
He's not American, is he?
I don't
He's English. He was born in the UK.
Yeah.
Hurwin, United Kingdom. He also directed The Raid 2 in 2014.
Yeah, great
and
movie.
there's word that there should be a 3 on its way, but no one really knows.
He also directed Marantau, which was one of Iko Uwais, the star of this movie's earlier films when he was much younger.
He did Apostle, I believe, as well for Netflix. That that took place in London, 1905, and it was like a.
Oh yeah. It's like a body horror type thing, isn't it?
I think so.
Like a torture horror thing.
No, I don't think it is. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
It's kind of like. It's a superstitious type movie, kind of like The Exorcist, but I think without as much possession.
Okay.
Because it takes place in 1905, so I'm assuming it's like The Witch.
Okay.
More so. He's done a lot of international films.
He did some stuff for VHS too.
Yeah, I was just about to say he had a hand in that, which is pretty neat. Which I kind of wonder what he directed in there.
Mm-hmm. You could look it up. You can do that.
That is true.
Sorry if that sounded condescending.
We'll let you do that.
Oh, really? Oh, well, you know, that is fair, because I was condescending to you. In any case.
Suja.
Yeah.
But no, it is it was nice to see how well this movie turned out for somebody who's not from that culture either. He did absolutely amazing with the choreography and the
so a lot of the go ahead with what you were saying. Sorry.
I was gonna say he also did very well with pacing with all the action, so it wasn't. It was kind of like John Wick, but a more extreme version. So for those of you who love the John Wick movies, or anybody who loves fight choreography to an extreme measure, you guys, this is the movie for you.
So yes, so a lot of that good choreography is actually attributed to Iko Uwais, because Iko Uwais, something he does and a lot of things he makes is he choreographs his own fights.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I looked it up in VHS 2. Gareth Evans co-directed with Timon Tigitaro the segment Safe Haven. That's the one he did.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to watch that again eventually.
Okay.
Also, for those of you who want to watch The Raid, because this is a movie that we're going to very much urge you to go watch by yourself. You need to before you listen to this review.
Yeah, well, not by yourself. You can watch it with other people. You're creative.
Yeah, well, you definitely have to go watch this before you.
It's got some faces you'll actually recognize now more recently, because Joe Talisman is in it.
Okay.
You know, you remember him?
I believe so.
Sub-Zero in the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, although his face is more covered in that one, a little more icy.
A little bit.
So for those of you who do want to go rent this though, and check it out since it's not available for free streaming, which is perfectly okay. You should go rent it anyway. It's great. It's only a couple bucks. It's $2.99 on Vudu and Amazon Prime Video, and for YouTube it's $3.99, or you can buy it for $12.99 according to Google Movies and Play.
Keep in mind, it is a...
Or TV, sorry.
Again, it is a Thai movie, so you will have to watch it with subtitles. If you're really that much of a stickler for not reading subtitles, you can just watch Dread with 2Ds from 2012. Basically the same movie, just with less martial arts. They stole the idea.
Which I am going to put my little nitpick.
Yeah, here we go. A year later.
You all don't... Well, I've said it before, but...
Yeah.
You all don't have the right to complain. There are people in other countries who had to watch the MCU and Endgame's epic fight scenes with Infinity War while having to navigate subtitles. And a lot of those languages take up a lot more screen room than English, so you all don't have room to complain. That is
true.
my spiel.
Very
Give
true.
it a chance. It's great.
Yep, it's wonderful.
I was lucky enough to get mine as a double feature for 1 and 2.
Have you watched 2 yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I eventually will. I'm waiting for a time that I just have a day that I'm going to binge watch a bunch of martial arts movies.
Sure.
Since I've moved a lot of my stuff.
Do what I did back in the day. Do an Iko Iwase marathon.
I might. I'm actually going to do a bunch of samurai mix between modern martial arts and...
So his earlier movie from 2009, Marantau, I believe that's still on Netflix. I could be wrong. But I know Headshot and The Night Comes For Us are both still on Netflix. So definitely check those out if you like his stuff. But, yeah, we're going into spoilers in a second here, but let's talk about the cast real quick. Rama, the main guy, is played by Iko Iwase. Are we still recording?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry. A lot of clicking happening. Iko Iwase, great martial artist. He practices, because some people weren't as familiar with this martial art. I don't think you were. He practices Silat, which is an Indonesian martial art, which is, if you just look up some of it, I think it's the most brutal martial art I've ever seen, personally. Because, you know, every martial art has... A core thing about most martial arts is it has a goal. You know, there is a goal while you're using this martial art when you're in a fight, right? So, like...
Somebody, whether that's competition, self-defense...
Yeah, self-defense.
Or just physical
defend
fitness.
yourself, fitness, beat your opponent.
Even flexibility sometimes.
Mm-hmm. The whole point of Silat is, it's not to beat your opponent. It is to break your opponent. The whole point is you never want to have to fight them again.
Yeah, which is the same as Krav Maga, right?
Well, Krav Maga is just, it's the quickest and most efficient way to kill someone in close quarters. Plus, it's very easy to learn.
Yeah, which is what makes it so...
Are we getting
horrifying.
Are we getting my neighbor cutting the hedges in our frickin' recording about martial arts shit?
Now we can turn down the sensitivity.
Yeah. There we go. Of course, now it stops, so I just sound like a crazy person. But, no, yeah, that's the whole point of Silat, is to break your opponent and make it so you never have to fight them again. So that involves a lot of, like, circular moves as opposed to, like, your square blocks, like with your karate. But it also involves a lot of hook knives, you know?
Yeah, which sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's terrifying,
for the
right?
most part, yeah.
And you'll see when you watch Marantau, because he shows some very, like... Is there freaking chips hitting? Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we're back.
I was just going to make it seamless, but it's fine. So, yeah, we're going through the cast. Yeah, Iko Iwase, who's in a lot of... He does Silat, which is a very brutal martial art. Like, you'll see some of the forms he does in Marantau. Like, it's straight up, like, using your weight of your body. Like, flipping in the air so you can use the weight of your body to fall onto someone's leg. Like, shit like that. Yeesh. It's very brutal. But yes, he's in The Raid 2. He was in Mile 22, which wasn't great, but he was great in it. Headshot, The Night Comes For Us, Marantau, Triple Threat. He was in the Snake Eyes movie, which we heard how that was, didn't we?
Yeah.
He was in Man of Tai Chi for a second. He was in Stuber, Beyond Skyline, which I actually prefer. He was in Force Awakens as a cameo, as the Canta Club, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celtic.
And then he was on the Netflix show Woo Assassins, which, you know, just watch the action.
Was it that bad?
Well, it's just, you know, it was better, story-wise, for a martial arts show. It was better than Iron Fist, but that's not difficult. You know, it's that classic, like, oh, you're the sacred warrior that's been passed down from the ancients, and you have a thing that will give you the power of all of these monks who sacrificed themselves to create this thing in the first place. And you're fighting all these people who control all the elements.
So The Last Airbender.
Well, no, because wind isn't one of the elements.
But in essence...
It's fire, water, earth, metal, and wood.
Yes, take away the wind. It's basically just a different
there's
version.
no woodbenders in Avatar.
Continue.
Anyways. Yeah, that show I thought was fun. But then we also have Yayan Ruhina, who plays Mad Dog. You have to admit, his martial arts is insane. Like, the shit he does is crazy. Like, we're not going to spoil anything, but when he's fighting two guys at once, it's insane to watch.
Which I don't think a lot of people get, that you're still doing martial arts while you're acting martial arts.
Yeah, like, yes, it is, it's choreographed, but you're still doing it. Like, that doesn't take away, like, the lack of sorry, I'm getting emotional. The lack of danger does not take away from how impressive it is.
Oh, I mean, there still is the danger of the possibility that you do accidentally kick one of your co-stars, or worse.
Yeah, but if you're that well trained, it's not a likelihood.
Well, I don't think it matters if you're that well trained if you have somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Who isn't as well trained.
Exactly. Because we all have those... Just because you're the professional doesn't mean you don't have that idiot that just kind of casually strolls through set and is like, hey, I'm not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Or the careless DP that might put a camera too close.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because he was also... Yayan, I hope I'm saying his name right. He was amazing. He was in John Wick 3. He's one of the guys that he fights when he fights two guys when he has a belt.
Oh, yes, the honorable ones.
Yes. And he was in this movie, The Raid, but also he was in Raid 2 as a different character. But he was also in Marintow, and that was interesting because when he was younger, Iko fought him and beat him by himself. So it's like, it's weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But in any case, he's an amazing martial artist. He's also in Beyond Skyline. But in a movie I have not seen called Yakuza Apocalypse, which sounds cool.
I think I've heard of that one. It sounds familiar.
And his name in that is also Mad Dog. Okay. Cool.
Mad Dog Tannen?
No. Not a white Mad Dog. Not a cowboy.
Aw, I was hoping. I like my cowboys.
Joe Talisman is in here. I love how I'm just brushing off. Joe Talisman is in here as Jaka, who's the captain of this police force. He's, like I said, he's Scorpion in the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Which he does amazing in.
Mm-hmm. He was also in The Swordsman, a movie you and I watched together.
Which we'll one day get to, because that is an amazing independently distributed film.
Yep, he's in Star Trek Beyond, Furious 6. A lot of good stuff.
They have a lot of martial artists in the Fast movies, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure.
Which is kind of nice.
You can't just have driving sequences. You gotta have action and stuff, too.
I've always really liked that about the Fast and the Furious movies, that there's always somebody there who's got the martial art combats, and Jason Statham is one of the few people I don't think really knows how much martial arts he actually knows.
Yeah.
And how deadly he actually is.
If you want to be impressed by some martial arts, watch him in the Transporter movies. He does a great job.
I was going to say, or Crank, too, I think, but I haven't seen those yet.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, Crank's just bonkers.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. It's literally in the title. Yeah. But in any case, yes, this movie, I thought it was done very well, for only like an hour, 42-minute movie. Like, it's a really good action movie. It didn't draw out anything. It kept you informed, and at the end you get a pretty good payoff.
Yeah, and I'd say this is the type of movie that you probably want to watch back to back, possibly with
its sequel.
The Battle Royale series.
I could see that. Yeah, it's a lot of that same kind of crazy action set pieces.
Yeah, so if you guys like Battle Royale and that kind of, it would be less martial arts, but if you like the same kind of fight action sequences and choreography when there are fight scenes, that would definitely be something I would suggest that you guys go out and check out as well.
Plus, this movie only had a budget of $1.1 million.
Yeah, it's a very low end, which I kind of like that too.
Yeah, well, and it just like watch the movie and know that because they use their budget very well.
It really is one of those few movies, especially with it being from early 2000s, that really displayed a lot or a little. It can be a very large amount.
Less is more, yeah. It was 2011, yeah. And then it got a sequel 3 years later because it became such a cult film. And
don't you just love when that happens?
well, and its budget went to 4.5 for its sequel, to which I'm like, that's awesome.
Which is pretty substantial amount for something like that.
Well, and its sequel is crazy nuts because we get like, you haven't watched it yet, but there's characters in there who like, one guy uses a metal baseball bat for a weapon and hits like stone baseballs at people. One girl uses like 2 hammers, like with hooks on the end, hammers. And I'm like, Jesus, this is terrifying. Like it seems corny, but it's just so brutal. Because like the dude will hit one of the stone baseballs and it'll just be in someone's face.
It does sound horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Horrifically fun though.
Yeah, it's a great... The Raid 2 is really, really great movie. And, like, there's a... I don't want to say too much, but there's a fight scene in a hibachi grill. You can just guess what happens.
What I'd like to do in Dead Rising for fun.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the Raid... The subtitle for most... The title from it in America is usually The Raid Redemption. So, yeah, Vudu, Prime, YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV. Some countries have it in Netflix.
Yeah, which NordVPN.
Yeah, NordVPN, you can switch your VPN so it's a different country. That's crazy cool.
Don't know how well the English might work on there, though.
I don't know. I haven't used the service. But
One day.
In any case, full spoilers coming ahead for this action fantasticular that is this movie.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check it out, you know where to take a look at it before we get into it. I would highly suggest that you do, as it is a great film that should be experienced first before kind of diving in depth into it. Or for those of you who are just kind of casually listening for something that you might want to watch later, feel free to do that too.
Yeah, so in any case, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so we started off and they do the classic save the cat routine, which always works for me, wherein they very quickly and efficiently make you care about the character. And how they do that is they show him, our main character, sorry, I'm blanking on his name, give me 2 seconds, Rama, yes. They show him in his apartment, he's just praying and doing his morning workout, and then it shows him, like, it shows a woman on his bed, so it's like, oh, okay, that's his girlfriend or his wife. And he kisses her on the head. And then he goes and kisses her on her very pregnant belly. So it's like, if you want us to hope this guy survives, you did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, take the easy shot.
Is it easy or is it just effective? You know what I mean? Like,
it's just very concrete.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I like about it. Because I instantly care whether or not this person will die for the sake of, if no one else, his unborn chitlin. You know? And yes, that's how I say children. Don't judge me. But in any case, so then he walks down and there's an old man there. Presumably it's his father. And he just taps him on the shoulder, grabs a picture that we don't as the audience see. It's a reveal later. And he says, I'll bring him home. That's all we know. So, it's kind of... I like how it's set up like that. Because A, it's realistic. And B, it gives us as the audience, like, a little bit of a mystery. You know?
Right. Which, this has got a lot of good foreshadowing, I'd say, for some of the stuff.
Right. For like, an action movie, the story is really solid.
And you don't really expect that with martial arts movies that I think are like that action-packed.
No.
Or typically, unless they're samurai movies, which may sound stereotypical, but is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, unless they're samurai movies, they usually don't have a definitive narrative. Yeah, they're kind of just there to exist. Which there's nothing wrong with that either.
No. Like, I like watching movies to be visually amazed as much as I like them to be narratively amazed. But if you can do both, congratulations, you've made one of my favorite films, you know?
That's a very good way of doing things and showing that you're able to stretch your storytelling as much as you are able to stretch and flex your your action that you want to pose.
Yeah. Your visual set pieces as well as narrative, yeah.
Which I would say also argues that the actors are twice as inclined to show their skills, and it gives them a lot of credit too, because it's kind of amazing. You kind of look at people like John Cena and The Rock, who have come from WWE to now being Hollywood actors.
Yeah, and they're actually really good at it.
And it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, because WWE is still acting, but it's not on the. I guess it's not.
It's
on the
soap opera.
Yeah, it's not on the same expected level as like.
There's no risk or actual, like a UFC fight. You expect somebody to maybe get kicked out and lose a tooth.
No, I was saying about acting stuff. Like it's not.
Oh, yeah.
The performances aren't on the same level as like I don't know, 12 Years a Slave or something like that. You know what I mean? Like.
It's kind of like your cheesy.
I wouldn't say cheesy.
The stories are cheesy that they bring up for those.
It can be, but there are some stories where I at least for me, I don't know, like I, kind of on the edge of my seat for some of those things. At least, again, I was a kid when I watched wrestling, so I don't know, but I hear it's really solid now.
It is. They did get some people in there, so it's kind of great to see that they got a change of management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in any case, so we find out that they're going to raid, hence the title, because Jaka gives us lets us as the audience know what's going to happen. So they're going to raid this building where a kingpin keeps all these criminals live there, and it's essentially a fortress of just the baddest of the bad, the worst of the worst. So their plan is they're going to go through it floor by floor and just arrest everybody. And then take down this guy who's the worst crime lord, the lowest of the low,
If you thought Kingpin was bad.
Yeah, he's really bad. And we get a visual explanation of how bad he is right after they mention his name, because they show him executing some guys by shooting them in the head over a tarp. He shoots a few of them, but then he runs out of bullets. So then he puts the gun on the guy's shoulder who he's about to execute, and he humorously says, "Here, hold this for me," and then goes over and opens a drawer, and there's more bullets in the drawer, but he pulls out a hammer to save bullets. And we don't see him whack the guy, because it cuts right after, which the editing, by the way, is fantastic.
The pacing of the editing is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, so yeah, not a great dude. Not someone you want to be around at all. But they're we're going to take him down, and we're going to do something no one's ever done. And we're going to get in and get out. And one of the things that I love, the line that he says, "I don't want to see any empty seats on the way back." So it's okay, he cares about them, but he's still a jarhead hard ass. So he's a really, good leader. You know what I mean?
You want to do by the book, and you also want to make sure that your people come home alive.
Exactly. Yeah. But so, how he was able to secure whether or not these would be dirty cops or not is that these are all pretty much fresh out of SWAT training, young gun type of guys. Which, there can be a risk associated with that. But he says after overseeing their training that they're ready, so he feels pretty confident.
Which is a narrative for movies in real life that I've always hated.
Really?
When people think that people are ready when it comes to terms of war, because it's never... You can't ever say that. You can only think that you can only think a person's ready because you never know what situation.
You can't know.
That's why I feel like, you know, when people do train in that sort of way, like the military, they do what they do because your circumstances could change in less than a second.
Well, yeah, that in that sense, like you can know as like their commander, he can know physically if they're ready, like if they've been trained and have the skills, you know. He may not know mentally, but he can definitely know physically if they're ready to do the job because they've probably ran drills like this crazy before doing
For that
this.
reason, yeah.
Yeah. But in any case, they end up getting, like, it's a huge truck full of people. It's a lot of dudes, and they end up going to their contact, who's a detective. He's the guy who told them, like, all the ins and outs of the place, like, this is how we're going to do it, this is how it'll go down, yada, yada, yada. And he's pretty confident that they can get this done, because he's been trying to... He's the main detective on this case. He's been trying to get this guy for years.
He's basically what Peter Parker is to Wilson Fisk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The man who wants to take down the worst of the worst.
And has been trying to for a very long time.
Yes.
But so they end up getting in easily enough because they get past the main security of it, where it's like there's a guy sitting watching TV watching a TV outside, and he's kind of like, you know, it's a scout, you know. He's the first to let anybody know if anybody's shown up, because not only do they ever get cops, but they also get other gangs trying to, you know, take over their territory. And we learn that later on in the movie, that like a bunch of gangs have attempted and failed, you know.
How much you want to bet he was watching Friends?
He wasn't. I looked at the TV. He was watching like a game show.
It was a joke.
I know. It wasn't good. Anyway.
Family Guy.
I'm kidding. So, in any case, he ends up, like... There's a great shot they use where, like, he's sitting with his back to, like, an open doorway, and we like, hear the guy say, "Take him out," and then we slowly see hands with the garrote wire go up, and all you see is the hands with the wire at first above the guy's head. Remember this shot? And then they just grab him and pull him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great shot, right?
Yeah, kind of like a tracking shot almost, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think that's the term for it, but...
But they get him, and then they see that another guy's trying to get in because he lives there. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I have medicine for my wife. She's sick." And they're like, "All right, where do you live?" 7th floor. And Rama elects to make sure he gets to the 7th floor personally. He'll watch him and keep him safe. And Jaka's not for it. He's like, this could endanger the whole mission. But he's like, fine, if you want to do it, whatever happens is on you. So then they pick the lock, they break in. The first 5 floors go pretty easy. Like, all they do is, like, open the doors, duct tape, and wire the people up, and then just keep going floor by floor by floor by floor by floor doing this. And, yeah, until the 5th floor, it goes really well.
Yeah, which I almost like that this was almost like a video game. It was kind of like a Tower of Terror. Especially because, if you wanted to ever... For those of you who watch SpongeBob...
Oh, here we go.
Do you all remember Karate Island? The Karate Island episode?
Who does
with
it?
Sandy. It was great. For those of you who actually wanted to see an actual brutal martial arts...
Yeah, this is...
this is your adult version.
Yeah. And they're like, they don't shy away from the grittiness of, like...
No.
Any of this, because, like, when they're arresting one guy, he's like, his back is covered in shit, like he's a junkie, and, like, other people, like, we see later that they have guns duct taped to the bottom of their tables and shit.
Yeah, like...
These are criminals. These are real criminals.
They're not good people,
no.
So quit feeling bad for them.
Exactly. So, they end up getting all the way to the 5th floor, and then they see a kid. And they, like, kind of point the gun at the kid, and someone tells him to shoot, but Rama chooses not to. And then the kid kind of just books it and goes through a door, and they shoot him, but it's like a second too late because another kid sees him.
Yeah. Which, this scene, I can't honestly say what I would have done. I don't think they should have shot him, but I do feel like they should have at least had taser or something with them.
Oh no, this was a very, like, we're killing everybody in here situation.
I know.
I would bring non-lethals.
I just was surprised. Like, I'm surprised they didn't account for the possibility.
Or the fact that children might live there.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like, you gotta assume that wherever you may be, no matter how
wherever people
scummy,
are living, assume kids live there too.
Yeah, no matter how scummy an environment is, just picture that there could be some sort of innocence in there. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a thing where it's like, they are so, like, it's a second off. Like, if they had shot a second earlier, or he hadn't run a second earlier, then, like, they would be fine. But he gets shot, a kid sees him, runs down the hallway, hits the intercom, and says police. And that's all it takes. That is all it takes.
And then everything, all hell is unleashed.
Well, yeah, because the main guy goes over the speaker, the main boss, and he goes, we have some, I think he says something akin to, we have some rats, or something like that, in our house. And he goes, he's like, as residents, it's up to you to be exterminators. And to prove that I appreciate it, if you kill any of them, consider yourself permanent rent-free residents. And it's like, well, shit. Like, okay. So now things are significantly harder.
Which is like...
Because everyone in that building is going to be wanting to kill you. Everyone and everything.
Well, everybody who is there on a criminal base.
No, he said anyone who lives there. If they kill a cop.
Well, I know. I mean, evidence. Anybody who would want to kill them who's on a criminal basis, most likely.
Well, yeah, most of the people who live there are on criminal basis. That was the whole point of the building.
What is the other thing I'm thinking of, too? They did a movie. Hotel Artemis.
Hotel Artemis, yeah.
Which I have to see.
That's a hospital.
Yeah, but it gives you kind of like that... Almost gave me John Wick vibes.
If you want to watch a movie like this, watch Dread with 2Ds from 2012. It's the same movie, except with more guns.
And a little bit of RoboCop feel.
A little bit.
That's every time I've gone to look at it and be like, do I really want to watch this? Mm-hmm. That's my first thought. It's like, oh, this looks.
It's better than that RoboCop. No diss to Joel Kinnaman, but that movie was not good.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of the god-awful 2014 version.
Yeah. Better than RoboCop 3. We discussed this in our first video.
Call back to the very first episode.
Yeah. Where it was you, me, and no one else.
Yeah, so we hope.
Uh-huh. So.
Ghost.
Yeah, anyways. So they were quiet enough that they could have been a ghost. Anyway. They end up, like, they see a door move while they're in the hallway undercover. So one guy gets the great idea to shoot a shotgun, but it shows in slow motion that the muzzle flash lets people above them know where they are, and then just rains bullets and just death just everywhere. Just everyone's getting shot. And then other people are panicking, trying to go for the door. No, of course, you can't go for the door right now.
This is what I would expect an actual rated R Joker funhouse to look like.
Seriously. Like,
and what any other person who, I swear to God, I'm just like, this is what Wilson Fisk's tower should actually be. Mm-hmm. Because if you're that much of a high profile with people gunning for you, even when you got the community... Why wouldn't you have something that specifically prepares you for such measures?
Exactly. So, yeah, a lot of people get killed, including people who are watching other people on apartments because they get distracted and people get... Like, one guy has a machete taped to his freaking table and just cuts the dude's neck. And then one guy's near a window, and turns out this guy has prepared for a situation like this, and he has people who live and sleep in the abandoned buildings next door, and they have sniper rifles, and they shoot out the drivers of the truck and all the other people near the windows. So it's like, you can't say he's not freaking prepared for any scenario.
No, and I can't imagine. I have to imagine that this was also the detective's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually he probably just got sick and tired of having to be paranoid and was just like,
find out
okay,
later why.
Yeah, you want to play ball? Let's play ball.
Yeah. Well, and the guy sees the man on the camera and he goes, "Oh, that old fool." So he knows him, obviously, and we find out more later. But what ends up happening is they try to escape into a nearby apartment. One guy gets shot, and another guy gets cut pretty bad with, like, a machete. So they, like, go into this apartment, and then Rama gets the great idea of, like, he starts putting his foot, he starts stomping at the floor, and then he hears a hollow sound. And one guy brought in, because it's a raid, one guy brought in an axe. So he has him toss the axe, and he just starts lumberjacking away, just so they can go to the next floor below.
Just like, all right,
yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Why not? Because Joe Talisman notices, like, frick, at least he's thinking fast. Like,
which I don't really think after, because, I mean, you think very quickly, and, I mean, I think no matter how much you watch the trailer to try and prepare for this movie, nothing could prepare you for, I didn't expect everybody was just, like, basically in that first few gonna, like, start getting slaughtered.
Yeah, they get slaughtered pretty quick, and then you have to deal with the fact that, like, there's the brutalness of it too, because they use that axe as a weapon as well. Like, one guy gets a straight up axe to the shoulder, and it looks so painful.
Yeah, props to the makeup department that did their stuff.
Because it looks real. It looks real. So then they get down to the next floor, and of course there's people trying to come to that one, but they barricaded the upper floor with, like, a mattress. So then they're all jumping down, and then people are trying to come into the next door, and they're fighting them off. Then one guy tries to have the same idea to axe his way to the bottom, but then someone who's in a floor below starts shooting upwards, kills him, and then Rama gets the great idea. He's going to empty out the fridge that's in this apartment, move it, put a like gasoline. He put a gas tank that we would know for, like, using it for, like, grills and such. He stuffs it in the fridge, and they move it towards the door, throw a grenade in it, and then just point it towards the door, and it, like, makes a blast go out that way. And I'm thinking in my head, logically this wouldn't work, but it's an action movie. I need to stop thinking.
If you want to talk about logic that wouldn't work with explosions, why don't we talk about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
That's what I was thinking too, because it also has to do with a fridge.
What did they say? Because it was lead.
Yeah.
Is that their excuse?
No, guys. Yeah, it's true. You can survive a nuclear explosion if you're in a lead-lined fridge that moves and flips 80 times.
Yeah, I was looking at that where I was like, clearly, especially being that old, you would have many broken bones.
I'm sorry, you're Indiana Jones. You're not invincible.
But he is, because character progression.
That is, no, it's plot armor. No,
plot
armor.
Oh, imagine that, though. Mm-hmm. Hey, he was at least protected from Superman.
Yeah, exactly. But in any case,
maybe that's why he didn't blow up. Superman did.
Like, the explosion, like, makes Rama a little dizzy, so...
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And at this point, there's 5 people left, including an asshole character. Like, his whole character is he's just an asshole.
Yeah, how many people did we start off with at the beginning? Wasn't it 20?
It was a pretty big number. I thought it might have been 30. Like, it was a whole SWAT truck full of dudes. Like,
I want everybody in these seats to come back. I want none of these seats empty.
Well, I got some bad news. You're not even leaving in that truck, because the drivers are dead.
And, you know what movie vibes I'm getting? as soon as I saw that. If you think back, it recently came out. Because I don't want to spoil nothing.
Mute it and then tell me. Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, that is very true. But in any case, yeah, so because they're like dizzy, they get separated. So Rama ends up going he ends up taking the other guy who's injured. He's like taking him through on foot, while the other three that are left, it's the police chief, Jaka, and then another guy. They end up going in through the ceiling back to that first apartment, so they get separated without even realizing it.
Sorry, I'm just thinking to myself more and more about this movie.
Right! Like, as you should. It's great.
And I just, I keep thinking, God.
Everything that can go wrong does, huh?
Well, yeah, and I'm also thinking, imagine being in an explosion like that, how sick you would feel.
Oh, yeah. You'd feel vertigo, you'd want to puke, you'd feel everything. It's
like, oh, but I have to keep going, otherwise I die.
Exactly. I have to keep moving, otherwise these psychopaths who have been given the incentive of rent-free living will cut my damn head off. I have to go. But he takes the, he's gonna take the guy to the 7th floor, because he thinks that guy will help. So, as he's, taking him through the hallway on the 7th floor, these guys jump out and start attacking him, and he's beating them off with... He has a nightstick in one hand and a knife in the other. And he's just, hitting guys with the nightstick and stabbing them, and then, stabbing them and then hitting them with the stick, and they're, all coming out of different apartment doors, and it's crazy. And then his wounded friend, pulls out a knife and starts crawling. He's dragging himself across the floor to try and help him. And I'm like, dude, just stay where you are. Wait there.
You're better off dying than you are moving.
Seriously.
Which is it sounds awful, but it's very, very, very true. But
and he ends up, angrily, frustratingly stabbing a guy who the other guy beat up. And my favorite part of this hallway fight sequence is he loses his weapons, so he grabs a guy by the head and hits his head on the side of the tile wall 5 times.
But he doesn't pull it away. He keeps it there and just continuously goes bam, 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 bam.
The guy keeps collapsing, so the lower he goes, the lower he's hitting his head. So it's just da 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 da, and then he's just on the ground. But I'm thinking dude, he would have went to the ground after the first hit. But if you want to keep going,
pissed him off.
Yeah. Well, the guy's dead now. But
so I mean, it's all right. Well, because you hear that at the end of the trailer. So if you ever want to hear a rhythmic beat down like Batman Arkham Knight, this is it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Oh, I can only imagine what it would have been like for the sound producers.
Anyways, now that we're back to the show, and my co-host is done being selfish.
We had some minor difficulties.
Minor difficulties? Tell that to my dang nostrils. Anyway, you can guess, you can infer. But...
I'm going to need you to hand me that cord, though.
Oh, you're going to need it? Are you now? Are you going to need the cord? Good God. Judas Priest. Anyways. They end up getting to the guy's apartment, and he lets him in, even though he's worried about the safety of his pregnant wife. And he lets him in at the very last minute, because there's 4 guys with machetes just walking around looking for them. And these guys, one guy definitely has the crazy eyes.
Yeah, if you guys have ever seen what I would say is... what movie is it?
I don't know, there's hundreds.
Green Room.
Yeah, Green Room. It's very Green Room. Great.
That's what it would remind me of.
Great film. R.I.P. Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
But these were the same guys who were about to kill. They were really close to killing Jaka and the others. But as they were about to go over there to kill them, they heard Rama and decided to go downstairs and look for him instead. So they go down there, and they're like looking through, and they check. They're gonna go check his apartment, but before they get in, he hides them. He has a secret like hollow wall crawl space, like a small bedroom kind of.
Yeah, which is
situation.
kind of neat.
Yeah, I'd like those. Those are nice. But he like opens up the side of the wall and like tells him to stay in there and be quiet. And the guy, he's looking through the house. They're looking through the house, and he just starts stabbing into the wall. And we as the audience know it's getting closer and closer to hitting the protagonist and the other guy. So it's very good tension with this scene.
Yeah, which kind of gave you a horror vibe of... Like, it's one of those things that horror movies always do, but you never really feel the full impact if you've seen enough of them.
Yeah. But the best part for me is when he does stab it in, and he actually gets Rama's cheek. And then some of the guys are, like, messing with the other dude's wife, so he flips out on him. So he leaves his machete in the wall to go and tell off the guy who owns the house, which gives Rama enough time to move his face away from the machete and put his hand on the blade. So while the guy's pulling the blade out, all the blood goes onto his glove and gets off of the machete.
That's nice.
Right? It's a nice detail, right?
It is, though.
It's good continuity. So, but then they leave, and then they're trying to get the bullet out of the guy who got shot. And it's a really funny scene for me, because he's like, "Get me a knife so I can dig this bullet out." The guy brings over a butter knife. He's like, "It's all I have." And the guy who needs to get the leg out of his bullet goes, "Fuck that."
You mean the bullet out of his leg?
The leg out of his bullet. No, I know what I said. The bullet out of his leg. He goes, "Shut up, no, don't make fun of me in front of the fans." He goes, "Fuck that. Get something else." And then he looks at the main guy. I have spoons or chopsticks." And then the guy just goes, "Just do it." And the dude pulls a bullet out of a guy's leg with a butter knife.
Which is like, okay, how about now?
Yeah, seriously, it looks so horrible. But then he's like, he's stubborn, but he's a good man. Keep him alive. I'm gonna go look for help. So he starts, like, moving through the hotel.
Which is like, at least not everybody is a complete nut job that wants to kill everybody in there.
At least two people are nice. The wife initially says kick him out, but...
I mean, can you blame her, though?
No,
she
she's
is
pregnant. She's worried about her safety. Totally get it.
I mean, this is probably one of the few movies where I was like, okay, you guys are just being selfish. Like, you have a kid on the way.
Yeah.
I can totally see why your wife is like,
No.
we have a kid that hasn't been born, and we're just trying to survive.
Exactly. So he's moving through, and then he, sees, as he's going through the hallway, one of the machete guys sees him and then starts chasing him. They get to the balcony stair area, and he hits him and throws him off of the balcony, and the dude breaks his back on this concrete railing. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that was just giving me Sleeping Dog vibes.
Yeah. So then he runs up the floor, and the other guy, he's like, there's 4 of these guys with machetes chasing him. The main guy tells 2 of the guys to put the machetes in their mouths and climb up to the next floor instead of taking the stairs. And I was like, hell no. Never. Like, under no circumstances.
Shall that happen?
Yeah. But then they corner him, and then we get like an amazing fight scene between our main character and 4 dudes with machetes, and he doesn't have any weapons. And you have to admit, this fight scene was...
This is actually one of my favorite martial arts scenes, to be honest.
To be, like, general, yeah.
Because it was done very, very well.
That's that Iko Iwase choreography, baby. He does it all himself. But he ends up, like they're fighting him, and then he has, like, a plan, which is... He knows they're going to come, like, because the hallway is narrow, he knows they're going to come at them and attack him one at a time, right? So he fights them, hits, like, weak points, gets the machetes out of their hand, and then kicks them away.
Which is really smart on him, because that would be your first thing that I feel like a lot of people are just kind of like, well, why would you do that? And it's like, that should be your first priority, is to disarm your opponent.
Don't try to pick up the machete. You don't have time. Get the machetes away from them, so you just have to worry about fighting guys with your hands.
Those are the same people, though, that are talking about action movies, but you'll watch them in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, no.
And they'll try to pick up the one singular sword, and it's like...
Geniuses.
It's one thing when you're fighting, like, 3 people in Assassin's Creed. When you have 10 and 3 of them have shotguns, like, maybe just focus.
Exactly. So, he's, like, kicking him away. There's, like, a couple good swings that they get where, it's an inch away from his stomach, but he jumps backwards out of the way. There's a point where one dude grabs his leg and tells the other guy to cut his leg off, but he, like, twists his body and kicks both the dudes out of the way. And, like, he's, like, holding a guy at one point and, like, kicks in between his legs. So, kicks both of his legs from the center of his legs. If that makes any sense at all. Like, he puts his leg in between the other guy's legs and just kicks.
It's like testicular manslaughter.
No, he doesn't kick him in the area. He just kicks the legs.
It'd be like testicular manslaughter for your legs.
But one of my favorite bits of this fight is he throws a guy and he goes through the wooden door. Then he grabs a dude by the head and jumps backwards, and the dude's neck lands on what's left of the wooden door.
Yeah, which that one was like, oh!
Yeah.
Even that one made me like, whoa.
That's one of those fight sequences where, like, time stops when you see that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're sitting there like, I know that didn't just happen.
Exactly.
But it did happen, and I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, and there is a point at that point where he does actually pick up a machete and fights back, and it's weird because he's better with it.
Yeah, this is... It just amazes me, because I'm pretty... Isn't this this movie what John Wick was inspired by?
Like movies like that.
Because I thought that's one of their... They said that was one of their primary...
At least for the martial arts
inspirations for making that type of movie.
Yeah, but then he's fighting these guys in this empty apartment. He's like breaking them over tables, like smacking them with chairs and stuff, and then he tackles a guy through the window because he hears other people coming. So he tackles him through the window, and they fall at least 3 floors. And he lands on the dude who lands on a metal terrace.
Payne McGee.
Exactly. And then he starts getting shot at, so he jumps through the nearest window. And he's just, like, taking off his bulletproof vest because it's hurting him because it's, like, just shot to shit now. And my favorite part is there's junkies in the apartment he goes in, and as he's leaving, the girl goes, "Where did the man come from?" And it's little lines like that make me laugh.
Imagine and I know it's very comedic, but I just imagine that one person who's sleeping in that apartment during this whole thing and wakes up with one bullet that went through their door, and they're like,
"What
the hell just happened?"
Exactly. So, yeah, he ends up walking through, and then we cut to Jaka and the other 2 guys. And we find out that the detective essentially screwed them, because this was an unsanctioned operation, and no one knows they're there.
That's why.
So no backup is coming. Like, no one's going to... there's no cavalry. They are on their own until they get out of there.
Which essentially is what we call the David Tapp treatment.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, that is a Saw reference.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And meanwhile, we also get the main, like, commander of the guy. He has his two lieutenants. One is Mad Dog, who they described as, like, as an animal with fists. And then he also has Andy, who's like, he's the brains of the whole operation. He's like, take some guys, go down there, figure this out yourself. Help them figure this out. So they go down there, and Andy goes with 2 guys in an elevator. And then as they're in the elevator, he just pulls out a knife and kills both of them. To which we're like, okay, something isn't correct here.
Because, you usually you don't do that to your allies.
Exactly. But so then we find out, like, they're going to leave this room, and he's like, Jock is like, I'm done. We're getting out of here, and then you're going to jail because you screwed us and got so many people killed. And as they're about to get out the door, that's when Mad Dog and his guys show up. And all of his men chase everyone except Jocka, because Mad Dog has a gun to Jocka's face. And then they go into that apartment they were just in, and he puts down the gun because he doesn't like using guns. So then he has Jocka toss his knife, and he puts the gun down, takes the clip out and the bullet out from the chamber. And then they just stand across from each other, kind of sizing each other up. And then they have a pretty great fight scene. It's a pretty good one-on-one fight scene, which we haven't seen yet in this movie.
Yeah, we've mainly seen everybody else getting the shit kicked out of them.
We've mainly seen Iko beating the crap out of a bunch of nobodies.
Which is like, oh yay, lackeys, but it's always fun when you get up close and personal to the person who deserves it most.
Exactly, but like, I mean, Jocka does okay, but at a point he just gets the shit kicked out of him. Like, we're talking like face smacked with a table and then an elbow, and then he loses consciousness for a second.
I mean, after what he's been through too, it wasn't super surprising to me because I'm sitting there like,
yeah, but he's the captain. He's the most well trained.
I know, but having to watch all your team and then just having to constantly, beat everybody else up and still thinking about how am I going to go home today? And I just learned that, this operation wasn't even on record.
Exactly.
This was an off
I'd just
the
be
record.
pissed. See, and you know me though. Like, I would have sized the guy up for a second, like the guy said, and then I would have faked hitting him out, and then ran to get the gun. Just tried to use the gun. Because fuck that.
I mean, I love how he thinks on his feet.
Yeah.
So
he
much.
uses the environment.
And it really makes me understand why Sleeping Dogs was such a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Which I swear to God, because that game is use your environment, I guarantee you it was most likely inspired by the raid.
Of course.
It has to be,
A
because
lot of things were.
I keep thinking more and more about Way being an undercover cop and how much it's a use your environment to your advantage game.
Exactly.
And it just works so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But him and Jocka fight. Mad Dog eventually gets the upper hand and just snaps his neck. And kills him.
Which is very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. For no one, but whatever. So, but then, like, when Rama's a little dizzy from his fall, he gets pulled into a room by Andy. And then he says, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I came here looking for you." And we find out Andy's his brother. And that's the whole reason he's here. That's the whole reason he signed up for the mission.
And slowly.
Yep, because his brother ran away because his dad was strict and joined the criminal underworld, and they haven't seen him in years. And he was like, "Oh, I found him. Now I can bring him home."
Which kind of gave me... Have you ever seen the sci-fi show Killjoys?
No. Did it give you vibes of that, though?
Yeah, that's the very first plot point that they do in the first episode is that...
One guy's brother is a criminal?
Yeah, and they're trying to bring him back. So I kind of got that, and I was like, oh, that was kind of neat.
I like that.
I like those kind of drama stories where the family, and that's kind of the way to reunite, because it's like, oh, man, you can tell that that's got to be a lot of dysfunction in the family then.
Exactly.
But it's amazing to see that one turned out successful, and one might have also turned out successful, just not in the way that you should want to be.
Right. And he almost convinces him for a second because he says you're going to be an uncle. And that makes the guy smile for like a second. And then he's like, "You shouldn't have come here."
Which,
yeah.
I think might have been, he probably said in his head, "Yeah, you think?"
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. But then Andy's like, "Wait here. I'll be back and I'll make sure you get out of here." But because he hears Mad Dog, and we see what Rama sees, which is Mad Dog is dragging Jocka's body. He's just dragging it across the floor with blood, and I'm like, Jesus, this guy is nuts. Like,
he's this very, very big sadist.
yeah. He's like, "Who is that?" "I don't know, but I'm bringing him to the boss." "Where are your guys?" "Looking for other people." Same with mine. Okay. It's like, okay.
Oh, you're all nonchalant. I'm glad murder is your number one favorite hobby.
Exactly.
They got some Jason Voorhees type problems.
Sincerely. But then Rama finds the other two guys, including the detective. And he finds out, he tells him Jack is dead, and then he finds out that the detective wasn't, he didn't know, like, he didn't tell anyone that the operation was happening.
Which I don't even know if one person could have a reaction at that point.
Sure.
Like, I feel like you could, but you wouldn't know exactly how to react as much as you'd be in shock, like, everybody's dead. I feel like you just kind of go into, like, what Arya did.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of go into hysterical mode, like, oh, fun. So, literally, no one knows we're here. We're all fucked. Thanks for that.
Exactly. But then he's like, what are we going to do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. And Rama comes over the plane. He's like, we're going to get to the top floor. We're going to fight as many people as we have to. Get to the top floor. Get this main crime boss. And he's going to be the one to get us out of here alive. And then we get an awesome action set piece with the three of them fighting just a bunch of dudes in a meth lab.
Which I'm surprised Indonesian Walter White was not there.
Seriously. But there's like a great fight when like because the detective dude, he's a heftier fellow. So there's like three guys attacking him at the same time, and Rama gets a knife from one guy and throws it, and the guy turns at the last second and it kills one of the guys.
Like, nip!
Well, and it's funny too, because Iko's got Rama, he's got his C-lot, and then the other guy has like, I think it's like, it's a lot, I'm not sure what martial art it is, but I think it's like, it's some type of kung fu that he's doing. But then the detective guy just has that he's hefty, so he's like hitting people with chairs and like knocking cases over him. So it's not nearly as graceful, but still.
It's still quite satisfying.
Mm-hmm. But then they get up and we find out that Andy's saying that they should well, we find out that earlier that the guy who runs the place, he's extra scummy because after that apartment after they used that thing, the bomb in the fridge to blow up, they're like, how many rooms do you think we lost? 2. He's like, okay, that's not bad. Look at the guys who died, go into their rooms and clear their stashes. They'll pay for it.
It's kind of like well, y'all caused it. It's your fault. You should have been better.
Yeah. But then Andy's like, we should just let these guys go. He's like, what? We should just give them money and let them go. Because you don't kill cops, you buy them. You know. It's just smarter that way. And the guy's like, that's a good point. And then Andy puts his hand on the desk, and the main guy stabs his hand into the desk because, of course, he saw Andy talking to Rama. Because there's cameras freaking everywhere. He's like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm an idiot? Of course I saw. Like, I see everything. Like,
I see all. I know all.
Yeah, this is my building. Yeah. So he has Mad Dog chain him up in like a cooling system room. And then Rama sees him chained up and like helps him down. And Mad Dog's there. And then Andy and Rama fight Mad Dog. And it's a crazy good fight scene. Even though like Mad Dog like there's getting a second wind in his in a fight. Mad Dog gets like 12 in this fight. Like
he what we call the other version of a super soldier.
He's insane. Yes, he is exactly.
Crackhead strength, psycho strength.
Seriously. But how they get him is like, oddly enough, I feel like the only way they could have killed this guy, they use a weapon. In that Rama freaking grabs a long light bulb, breaks it, and stabs it in his neck, and just moves it across his neck.
Just like, that is one way to do it.
It works. Like, screw your honor. He's trying to kill you.
I kind of like that. At one point, it's just like, okay, you have to die.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Saints Row 2?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that voodoo priest machine where you
shoot
him, shoots him like 6 times, it just gets back up, finally just comes back, fucking die already, shoots the whole clip into him, and then just hacks his head.
Exactly. I think you need to die today, dude. Like,
Well, it's like, how many more times can you die or get
the
shot?
plan almost works, but the detective idiot fucks it because he takes the other guy and they go up and he disarms a guy who has a gun and they're holding the main criminal at gunpoint, and then he shoots the other guy and like points the gun at the criminal guy, and he's like, "You're gonna get me out of here, and then I'm gonna disappear, and you can keep doing what you're doing." And like, yeah,
It's like, or no.
he cares more about his survival than doing what's right, because that's when we find out the reason he knows him is because he's so deep in his pocket it's not even funny.
Yeah, which kind of isn't a surprise.
No.
Because, I mean, corruption exists everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Premise of a really good reboot.
Yeah.
Known as Spiral.
Mm-hmm. But he's like bringing him down at gunpoint, and Rama and Andy are there, and he's like, "I'm getting him out of here. No one's going to talk about this, and we're all just going to go on with our lives." But then he's like, "You idiot, you're never going to go on with your life. You're a disgrace. You've done nothing with your life." And he just keeps taunting him and taunting him and taunting him. And he's like, "You're never going to be able to sleep as long as I'm alive." And then the detective guy just shoots him in the head.
Which is like...
Which solves that issue.
I mean, brings your therapy up quite a bit. Your therapy bill up quite a bit, but hey.
But then my favorite thing happens, because he tries to shoot himself, and he's out of bullets. Don't you love it when that happens?
That's just kind of like a, oh.
Like, I think that happens in a zombie movie, where a guy's shooting a bunch of undead that are walking near him, and then he tries to shoot himself, but he used his last bullet.
Of course, it's funnier when they're basically Deadpool.
Yeah.
They're doing it Deadpool style, and they're just like, oh, yeah, well, I messed up, and then it's like, click, click, oh.
Crap. But then the, Rama, the guy with the bad leg, and Andy start walking towards the door, and how it works is Andy's in charge of the underworld now, so he lets his brother and the other guy go, and that's just how the movie ends. Which, don't worry, Andy is in the second one. He's a very crucial part of the second one.
I can only imagine.
You'll see.
It wouldn't make sense if he wasn't, I don't think.
But that's the raid. And for a guy who more recently than not, got into in international films, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a treat. You guys really don't know what you're missing out on. I mean, my earliest exposure, which I've said before, was to the original Toho Godzilla movies, and that got it into it, but I could never find them, so I kind of just took a break and was focusing on American films. But there's a whole world of American films out there, and this is made by somebody who comes from England. Mm-hmm. So I also want some of you to keep that in mind too. Like, you know, somebody in England who speaks English made this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of don't have an excuse. But I would say it was beyond satisfying, especially for any of you who are looking for a more extreme or follow-up to John Wick. Besides Denzel Washington's The Equalizer, and a couple of others. If you're really looking for a solid film to follow up on, I would definitely highly recommend The Raid. It is just, you know, we always say on the show that talking never does these movies justice, and it's very true. You have to watch it. Choreography is an art. It's beautifully done, and it was wonderful getting to see the choreography being blended with a story so well. That was both intriguing, and how they got you to care about the characters. It wasn't even some of the lackeys. You were just kind of sitting there like, even I feel a little bad that they got that brutalized. Because you got to think, some of them out of the bunch were just like, I've seen what this man who we work for does,
yeah,
and there's no way out. So whatever you do to me can't be worse than what'll happen.
Exactly. But yeah, that's The Raid, and it's awesome. And check it out. I hope you guys enjoy our international films that we've been doing. Stay tuned. I was about to say next week, but it'll be up
It'll be up probably the same day as all the other ones, so you guys will have a mass boatload of things to listen to, catch up on, and it'll give you something for you guys to watch, as these are only hour episodes, a little over an hour usually, so you guys can listen where if you're working or something, and yada yada yada. So
let us know what you think. But
and what do you like us to review later on? So
yeah. But this has been Phone Nerds Hour. He's been Noah Sweeto.
He's been Nathaniel Shoemaker.
We'll see you next time.
So long, everyone.
Bye.